call you back.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to begin this afternoon's board meeting. The school board meeting of September 22nd, 2020 is now called to order. The time is 6 p.m. We would like to take this opportunity to remind the members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student achieves his or her highest personal potential, and of the district's vision to be a world-class school system. We would like to remind the public that this facility requires a mask as noted in Board Policy 1.181. And also please remember to social distance. This evening's agenda includes the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance, public comment, consent action items, which include 9 items under academic services, 4 items under business services, 4 items under human resources, 2 of which are for good cause. Dr. Adkins, please provide an explanation for these 2 items.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 2 approvals that are basically emergency COVID memorandums. One is with the Teachers Association of Lee County, and the second one is with the Support Personnel Association of Lee County. Both of these memorandums were just recently ratified by the bargaining units, and we need to get them in front of the board and get them approved so we can implement both of them.
Thank you. As presiding officer, I find that there is good cause to add these 2 items to the agenda. Also on the agenda is 1 item under information systems, as well as 10 items under operations. 1 item under attorney's recommendations, which is for good cause. Mrs. Dupree-Bruno, please provide an explanation for this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is with regards to a settlement payment to Weiss Serota to finish paying the balance that is owed to them. This was negotiated yesterday evening, and we would like to move forward with that. It's time sensitive.
Thank you very much, Attorney Bruno. I find that there is good cause to add this item also to the agenda. And also we have 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Ms. Morgan?
I move that we adopt the agenda.
And second by Ms. Jordan. Thank you. Please record your vote. Motion carries unanimously. This evening, I will deliver the invocation, after which Mrs. Morgan will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ms. Fisher, we have someone online to do the invocation.
Thank you. On behalf of Mrs. Patrica, I would like to invite Deb Kunkel, Associate Pastor of the Sanibel Congregational United Church of Christ, to deliver the invocation at this time. Ms. Kunkel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Kunkel.
Let us pray.
Holy One, you call us in different ways to different tasks at different times. We thank you for giving us the responsibility and the privilege to care for young minds, hearts, and bodies through the resources of this county. We give thanks for all who do so each day in our schools, teachers and administrators, custodial and cafeteria staff, librarians, aides, and all others who work and volunteer in our schools. Provide your strength, wisdom, and compassion on all of them so that they may meet the challenges of COVID-19 effectively, without fear and without risk to their own or loved ones' health. Decisions and actions are being tested and must be quickly adapted and adopted. Open all our minds to your wisdom that shows new ways to live out your eternal values of justice, love, and compassion. Remind all to show grace in this time for missteps and the will to try again. Bestow your grace upon this meeting and these board members as they make determinations that will impact education for the children of the Lee School District in ways that are just for each child. May your spirit fill their discussions and decisions in this unusual and difficult time period. Open ears and minds to truly hear each other with understanding, even when, especially when, all do not agree. Eternal One, shower your graces upon all participating in this meeting, not only for the length of the agenda, but also for the rest of their daily lives. May what happens here tonight be led by you, so that all may be blessed through this meeting. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. In 1956, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed a law recognizing September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, a week to commemorate and celebrate one of America's most important documents. Thanks to a donation from Constitution for People, Incorporated, the Daughters of the American Revolution, Estero Island, the Rotary Club of Naples Bay, the VFW of Bonita Springs, and the Kiwanis of Northside Naples, more than 7,000 Constitution booklets were distributed to all of our district's fifth graders. The booklet contains the United States Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, famous quotes, an activity, and an index for easy reference. We want to thank those organizations who made it possible for our students to have their own copies of these important historic documents. I would also like to acknowledge National Hispanic Heritage Month. In 1988, Congress passed Public Law 100-402, which amended Public Law 90-498, which changed National Hispanic Heritage Week to National Hispanic Heritage Month, in recognition of the many Americans of Hispanic descent who have made outstanding contributions to our nation. We will formally approve a resolution for National Hispanic Heritage Month during the October 6th board meeting. At this time, I would also like to acknowledge Constitution and Citizenship Day, National Payroll Week, Do the Right Thing Month, and National Register to Vote Day. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Attorney Dupree Bruno, please address the item of public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a blue card, please provide it to us. If you need a blue card, they are located in the hallway outside of the boardroom. The rules concerning public comment are posted at the back of the room. Public comment will be made from the central microphone in the back of the room. Please be advised that the board does not respond during public comment to remarks made by speakers. At the end of the public comment period, the board chair, Ms. Fisher, will address concerns or the assignment of any concerns or requests to the superintendent. We encourage each speaker to wear a mask during public comment. We would ask that you use the sanitization supplies which are provided near the microphone after you speak for the benefit of the next speaker. Speakers and those attending the meeting are expected to act in a respectful manner. The purpose of public comment is to provide feedback on school district issues. Personal attacks on individuals or abusive language are prohibited. In addition, clapping, hissing, and booing are prohibited. Speakers who fail to follow proper decorum in the chambers will be ruled out of order. Any speaker continuing with such remarks will be required to relinquish the microphone per Board Policy 1.11. The time per speaker is 3 minutes. You will find a countdown on the big screens in the front of the room. Once your time has elapsed, the microphone will automatically shut off. Please state your name prior to making your comment. Please stay 6 feet apart while in the public comment queue. Madam Chair, there are 10 speakers that wish to address the board this evening.
Thank you, Attorney Bruno. Is there anyone else in the audience who has not completed a blue card and wishes to speak? Please stand and say your name. Oh, okay. Thank you. Attorney Bruno, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, will Melissa Hatter please approach the microphone?
Hello, I'm Melissa Hatter, and this past year, I began raising funds for my daughter's cheer team, which led me finding myself as the secretary for the Cypress Lake High School Athletic Booster Club. I discovered a significant lack of compliance with bylaws, state, federal, and district policies. As of July 1st, there were 41 transactions lacking proper board approval or receipts. Since the district was made aware, there are now 58. The school's principal stated she was advised by the district and its legal advisors that the very people who were reported write an additional 18 checks without board approval. 17 checks, totaling over $22,000, were then commingled with school funds. My experience with the district and superintendent, who I supported last year, left me questioning my support. This leads one to believe administration and district actively participated and attempted to conceal the misappropriation of funds, making themselves complicit. Their main objective wasn't to hold anyone responsible, but at a great disservice to the student athletes, to dissolve the boosters by any means necessary, including having the booster president, whom should have been under investigation and failed to file IRS state annual reports for 5 consecutive years, in charge of filing the dissolution and the unapproved disbursement of a 501c3's assets, which facilitated the fraud committed on the state filings for dissolution, all in an attempt to avoid the investigation and audit. District Chief Legal Advisor Brian Williams' response was that I should have contacted authorities, and the veiled threat that I was complicit by not notifying authorities myself. The same knowledge the district had had since July 1st. Were they then not obligated to notify law enforcement? After the principal's multiple fabrications of policies, which I sought intervention from Dr. Atkins and was unacknowledged, I am left with no confidence in the school administration's ability to uphold the laws, values, or act in our children's best interests. I fear further retaliation against my children and the children of other previous board members. I have invested hundreds of hours and have experienced so much stress and frustration it's literally affected my health. In closing, I attempted handling these matters with the administration district to no avail. I am left with no option but to follow Mr. Williams' advice, and have already spoken to the state's attorney's office. I can honestly say, I have made countless attempts since May 2019 to be part of a solution as opposed to part of a problem, and I ask Dr. Atkins, Mr. Williams, and Principal Rolls if they can honestly say the same. Thank you.
Eddie McGirt, please come to the microphone.
My name is Eddie McGirt, and last year I was committee chair in charge of membership for Cypress Lake High School Booster Club. In fact, the only reason I became part of the member club was I was at a meeting and I was shocked at how the Booster Club treated the coaches. And I 100% stand behind Melissa Hatter's statement, as well as her efforts to bring Booster Club into compliance. All the non-compliance has taken donated money from the athletes and supporting on their behalf. School administration seemed to have more of an interest in supporting the devious behaviors of board presidents, vice president, and treasurer than in raising money to support coaches and student athletes. Requested actions to be taken. Number 1, zero tolerance of retaliation. Number 2, full investigation of and audit of Cypress Lake High School Athletic Booster Club and its authorized signers from 2014 to 2020. Action 3, investigation of Principal Rolls, Angela Rolls. Action 4, investigation of Superintendent and Chief Legal Counsel. Action 5, district-wide training for booster clubs and districts, as well as a revision of district cooperative organization guidelines. Number 6, authorization of a new Cypress Lake High School Athletic Booster Club, which yearly provided scholarships to student athletes to help them in their efforts to continue their education. And number 7, mandatory transparency of athletic clubs' accounting and accountability processes implemented for school athletic accounts. And lastly, this is not obviously the first time that Booster Club questions have come up before the board. Maybe it's time that we put something forward and get something done about this, and so we don't have to continuously come to the board for guidance on this. Thank you for your time.
Jerry Ware, please step to the microphone.
Good afternoon. I am Jerry Ware. I'm seeking clarity of the status of the proposed construction of Franklin Park Elementary. It is very crucial that our Dunbar community request the status as it relates to the school and its reconstruction. It's crucial because efforts need to be made to prevent the loss of another school in our community. If you recall, Dr. Brown invested all of the money for the infrastructure across the street of James Stevens Elementary School, and now it is used as a soccer field. No middle school. No other community in the district has lost a school. While our area loses a school, areas like Estero will have its own elementary, middle, and high school. I applaud them for that. It amazes me how millions of dollars can be found to construct schools in other areas, but not in Dunbar. I'm told it's because of the low enrollment at the school. If the district would refrain from busing children out of the community to fill other schools, there would be sufficient children for enrollment at Franklin Park and at James Stevens. As our population grows, we cannot rely on the Dunbar community kids to integrate schools. I'm told that the construction of Franklin Park is contingent upon a grant, and this will be some sort of a community school with other programs and not solely education. Is this an attempt to ultimately phase school out? I feel that the Dunbar community deserves more information regarding this. Why are we always on the menu but not at the table? Why do others feel that they know what's best for our community without our input? I am requesting that the district provide more information regarding the plans for Franklin Park. I'm asking the Dunbar community to wake up and become more knowledgeable about what is being planned for our community without our input. Surely, we may not have Rotary clubs and chambers of commerce in our community, but we still deserve to be informed. On another note, I would like to know how COVID has affected our children and their ability to learn as they are being taught. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jamie Michael, please step forward.
I'm Jamie Michael. I'm president of the Support Personnel Association, and I'd like to thank the district for working with the support employees since COVID, the pandemic started. We have worked through our MOU. We applied to the state to PERC to have an electronic ratification. We started that ratification Friday morning and finished up on Monday evening, and it passed 95 to 5% no. So it passed, and they're pretty much happy with what's in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. John Miller, please step to the microphone.
Members of the board, my name is John Miller, and my comments tonight are simple. I'm here today to say thank you for all of the hard work that you, as a board, and all the members of the Lee County School District's administration staff put in on the Return to School program. I have a second and a fourth grader that go to Tanglewood. They opted to return to school full time, and the transition has been fantastic. I cannot say enough about Ms. Buckley and her staff, and what a wonderful job they have done with the return to school plan, making the kids feel welcome and safe during their time at school. And so I just want to say thank you for everything you've done and everything the district has done to make my children able to learn again.
Thank you. Blaine Lindsay, please step to the microphone.
Hi, my name is Blaine Lindsay. I wanted to kind of come and say the same thing as John Miller did. I'd like to say during our current state, I felt compelled to come and to say thank you. I was hesitant at first to allow my child to go back to school. I didn't think that the virtual learning would work, or that it would not work as well as it has. I have to say that I not only had my daughter in Virtual Connect for the first 2 weeks, I felt very comfortable that Edison Park, she's a third grader there, they did a really fantastic job bringing her in and having her connect with her teacher from a virtual standpoint. And then I and my wife felt so comfortable with the way that the school board and the school system was doing everything that we sent her back. And I have to say that mentally that it was the best thing for my daughter. She's really started to thrive and seem like, you know, herself again and a student. And I really just wanted to come here and thank you for that, because like I said, I was not on board with everything, and you guys made me feel very much on board. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Bethany Anderson, please come to the microphone.
Good evening. My name is Bethany Anderson, and I am a parent of 2 children at Tanglewood Elementary. And like the 2 before me, I felt compelled to come and say thank you to all of you, as well as the staff and all the administration within the district. This whole process has been scary for parents, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of that. And I've watched enough of these meetings to know how hard that you've all worked to make this a good experience for our children. I think the fact that you were able to offer options for families like mine was really incredible, and I know that a lot of communities around us weren't provided those options. So thank you for all the hard work that it took to make that possible. Also, one of the things that I heard you say in a lot of these meetings was how you were going to educate our children about coronavirus and how to be safe and what it would require for them in the schools. And I personally was nervous. How was my new kindergartner going to wear a mask all day? How was my second grader going to not run up and hug his friends when he sees them at school? But the first 2 weeks, the staff and the teachers did an incredible job teaching these children without making them fearful. They have a wonderful understanding of why they're doing the things that they are. Maybe they would like to play on the playgrounds, but they're so happy to be back at school, and they're thriving and learning so much more than math and science. So that the way that the teachers were able to teach them why they're wearing the masks. My kids are reminding me when we go in a store that we need to put our masks on, and making sure that we've washed our hands long enough before dinner. And it's really just incredible, and a statement to what a great job you all have done. I also had a message from Amy Rajka, who is the PTA president at Tanglewood Elementary, that she'd like for me to share. She said, my daughter's in 3rd grade at Tanglewood Elementary. We chose face-to-face for her, and it has been such a positive experience. The week before school started, I was, of course, judging my decision like many others. Should I do Home Connect? Should we have done virtual school? First day of school was nerve-wracking, to say the least, but when I saw the big smile when my daughter hopped into our car after school, I knew everything was just fine. She had the best first day of school and was completely unfazed by wearing the mask all day. I'm so grateful for the transition at Tanglewood and all of the support from the teachers and staff for making Tanglewood as amazing as it always has been. Thank you for keeping our children safe. Thank you on behalf of the parents of Tanglewood.
Thank you. Mr. Luis Navarro, please come to the microphone.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Atkins, Lou Navarro, extraordinary science teacher, only second to Dr. Atkins, who's number 1. He was science too. Listen, I came in, I wanted to say some crummy things, but I heard from Mr. Malloy and Mr. Lloyd, so I do want to hit on a few things anyway. Dashboard. I know you don't have it, but he showed me where it lists all the COVID cases. I hope you're going to increase that now, like Orange County. They're going to go to teachers and buses and classes. I think that's only fair to the parents. This is a very dangerous disease. Now, I know you're required to put up some kind of dashboard, which you've done, but Mr. Malloy said it's not really fancy at this point. But I urge you to do that. The parents have a right to know. School buses. I've been riding around only today. I usually stay locked down. I saw some buses empty and they didn't have their masks on, the driver. But we talked about that to Mr. Lloyd. But I think, you know, if you're going to do the job, do it right. That's why Mr. Getz and I quit subbing. If we can't do the job right, we're done. That's all. Don't do that, though. I also am going to leave some paperwork here. I understand we have staffing connections doing the volunteering, but it's not volunteering. They're paid to be the crossing guards. They don't even put their mask on, they told me, and they got nasty, too, when I called, unless a kid's coming to cross Del Prado and Hancock Bridge, for an example. I'm going to leave that for Ms. Vaughn, because we had discussed all these things. Before I forget, why can't you have temperature takers? I go to the federal courthouse because we're still doing that lawsuit, and they got a new gizmo. You put your forehead up there, and it says normal. And if you're not normal, they're not letting you in. I highly recommend that. And you know you've had experience. One of our workers here in the board is in therapy, I understand, and my son's wife works in COVID, in the ICU. It's very dangerous, to say the least. But I recommend that. And the last thing I wanted to say is public records. I've spoken to the board, and it seems like we're just getting a runaround on all this stuff. And we'll get back to you. It's a matter of semantics. I'm going to leave this for Ms. Vaughn, too. And believe me, I love the public relations director. And she does a really good job. But the last year...
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Your time is up.
Okay. We just don't get anything done. I'm going to leave this stuff. Thank you.
At this time, Winnie Harrison, please come to the mic.
Hi, my name is Winnie Harrison, and I'm here to oppose a permanent mask mandate for students. I have 4 sons, and I've been intimately involved in their education and have about 30 years experience working with children from infancy to high school. So it is not just my common sense as a human being that tells me it is wrong to make children wear masks. And it's unbelievable to me that anyone involved in children's education cannot see the negative impact this can have on their learning. You know, we've heard it all before. There might be speech or hearing problems, other reasons children need to see facial expressions. They can't do these things with their faces hidden. And I don't see how this can even be considered making something so controversial permanent. Even our government can't make up its mind about this virus, which is real, but you know, one day masks are useless, then they're life-saving, it spreads on surfaces, it doesn't. Test everyone, don't test everyone. And that really concerns me a lot, is the testing, because the tests are not accurate. The RT-PCR tests do not test for the specific SARS-CoV-2 virus. They take a sequence, they amplify it, and the more they amplify it, the more likely it is to be positive, and there are no standards of the numbers of times. The virus has never been isolated, so there's nothing to even compare the results to. We hear about all the increasing cases, but they're not. They're positive test results, which, if they mean nothing, it means even less than it did then. And the person who invented this test never meant it to diagnose disease. And I think that's important to know, because all of these restrictions are based on these tests and the severity of the disease and what do we do. And I know you're trying to do the right thing, but I would urge you all to think about the short and long-term psychological and physical damage that's already being inflicted on the students, rather than worrying about the hypothetical risk of any virus. And your responsibility here, according to your website, is to ensure that each student achieves his or her highest personal potential. How can this happen if you purposely stunt their emotional and psychological growth? I would urge you to vote against a permanent mask mandate. The only thing you should make permanent is to ban masks from school. It's not normal, and we all know it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Corey Dye, please come to the microphone.
Hello, Corey Dye. So my complaint is under the public meeting calendar. There is no link to find agendas on that public meeting calendar there. You have them hidden in another place on another site, which I believe puts you in violation of Florida Statute 120.525, which also says all public meetings need to be posted 7 days in advance. As you didn't know and were informed, that didn't happen today, which I also believe you operated in a legal vote earlier today. This board has a habit of such behavior, but based only on the public meetings this month, you have not posted agendas for 1 on the 3rd, 1 on the 8th, 2 on the 9th, 1 on the 10th, 1 on the 14th, 2 on the 16th, 1 on the 17th. Yesterday's TALC meeting, no Zoom link, no agenda. Today it was posted at the same time the meeting, and even now you're not adhering to your own agenda with this public opinion being pushed from later in the meeting to now. Twice now I've brought to you to the board's attention my complaint of the ethics violation by one of your members with no response, guidance, nor have you sent a single person to talk to me. I even asked Angela Pruitt, your Chief Human Resources Officer, to which she says she doesn't know how or what to do. HR doesn't know how to handle a complaint. So here is the 3rd time publicly I'm bringing it to this board's attention, and I see why you don't care what she said to me in front of all of you. The way you all publicly treated another on your own board is disgusting over a book club and an email address. Or is it that you're discriminating against me because of the court case 20-CA-006325, which I'm a plaintiff against you?
Ms. Christy Hayden, please come to the microphone.
Hello and good evening.
My name is Christy Hayden, and I'm a parent of 2 students who currently attend a Lee County Public School. They currently attend Tanglewood Elementary. I also share the same sentiments of a couple of the parents that have been here tonight. I'm here for a few reasons. That is, first and foremost, to stop and say thank you all for everything that you have done. For the, this is a large school district, and I want to recognize the hard work and the time that you have all dedicated to the process. While I know that it has by no stretch of the imagination been easy for anyone, both you on the board, the administration, and us as parents, I want to personally say thank you. Secondly, I'm here tonight as a parent who selected the Home Connect model. I have lots of friends that have selected face-to-face, but we chose the Home Connect model for us and our children. I'm speaking from that perspective because I know my views are shared by so many regardless of the model that they selected. I want to make sure that we take the time to acknowledge our teachers and the staff also who have been on the front lines, both implementing safety protocols, planning lessons, and finding creative ways to keep our kids not only engaged but connected. I'm going to try to share a quick story. My Home Connect and the teachers with my children have been beyond words. Watching them try to navigate a computer with 25 kids in each classroom has been extremely hard, but they've managed to find ways to keep the kids engaged and also provide them with the critical pieces that they need for their education. My son has struggled with finding motivation to read, and on the first call I received from his new teacher, I let her know that this was something we were struggling to find a way to address. She made a suggestion that we find a book that she said her children had read when they were younger, and that I don't allow him to read it, but in fact, I read it to him. So I insisted that I was the only one that was going to read it to him. He couldn't read it because it was a book that I was only going to read to him. He began to ask me to please read one more chapter, to please read one more chapter. He was gaining excitement for reading that book. At the end of the story, it took place in the Great Barrier Reef, so I took him to the causeway, and we sat there and we read the last 2 chapters of the book. He was so excited. That teacher had provided a new way for my child to not only stay engaged in the classroom with Home Connect, but also find a passion for reading. The kids in his class on Home Connect now ask what happened next in the story. They want to read it too. In a short amount of time, that teacher has found a way to connect with my child, and also a way for me to connect further with my child. I want to acknowledge that these teachers have been amazing. She gave us something that I can't put a price on. My son has learned and been motivated to read.
Thank you.
Even over Zoom.
Thank you, ma'am.
all.
Thank you. Susan Cantalupo.
No disrespect to those parents from Tanglewood. Didn't understand a word you said. Okay, the masks are ridiculous. When you're all up there talking, I have no idea who's speaking. The madness really has to stop. And Tanglewood, I mean, it's great that you parents have had a good experience. I'm very glad for you. I really am. But you don't represent all of the parents in the school district, and I just want you to keep that in mind. I mean, I'm pleased. I have nothing against any of you. I guess I'm one of the only conservatives here. But I want to tell you that a couple months ago, I brought my son, my 16-year-old, to speak at the Cape Coral City Council meeting against masks. There were so many people opposed, they had to reconvene the next day. To make masks permanently mandated will be a grave mistake for the board. And I think you'll have a line going down the side of the building of parents waiting to speak because they want to have their time and they want you to know how detrimental this is going to be for their children. I asked my son today to please come and speak, and he says, "Mom, I don't want to be a public speaker anymore." I said, "Oh, come on. How do you like wearing masks?" He said, "It sucks. It's terrible." And that's not my son being disrespectful, but that's a word that they say. I talked to another mom today who couldn't make it, and she is sacrificing her work in order to have her kids homeschooled because one of her children has so many allergies. One sneeze, one cough, that's it, she's home. How do you deal with that? Another mom left me a voicemail, and I wish I could play it, but I won't. She was in tears. She doesn't understand how to do Leave Virtual School, or whatever it's called. She was in tears. She said, I shouldn't have to take a half-hour tutorial on watch a tutorial on YouTube to figure out how to get my child homeschooled. And what I want you to understand is the immense sacrifice that these parents are going through. Now, I happen to be unemployed, and I'm putting my name out there. I could be like blackballed from getting a job. I've had crisis with my son for the last 8 years. I want him to have normalcy in school. Normalcy. That is a big word here. And you gotta realize that when parents choose to homeschool their kids, that's a reflection on you as a school board. That means that you're not doing your job to get the kids to come back to school. Get them to come back. Let parents work with you.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next speaker, Jacqueline Perez.
We want to work. We don't want to be the adversary.
Jacqueline Perez.
Good evening, board. I wanted to say thank you last week for making that decision in your emergency meeting with the charter school, with collegiate charter school. It was the right decision, and the investigation that was done or the observations were on point, and you did the right thing. I went further into research more about the collegiate college and see how it happened. So I wanted to imagine, at least try to come up with why it got to that point and 2 or 3 weeks into school and the district was not aware of things. What I did find out was that on June 4th, 2019, the contract was approved under the consent item, but charter schools cannot be approved under a consent item. According to state statute, they'd have to be approved under a special meeting where you can have public comment. That's the first error you have. The second one was, I found astounding, was that the other districts where this charter school applied to, they were outright denied for lack of meeting the qualifications, not meeting deadlines, and we had those signs going on from the summer on. And I think that when we released $140,000 to them, that was a grave mistake. So we need to implement policies in place. There was no real vetting either. I looked at the email trail, and it had been actually originally denied from the Lee County School District also. But the person who is now retired, who was in charge of that position, approved it. So I'm going to request respectfully that you look into your policies so it does not repeat itself again, please. I also wanted to bring up another concern I have about a contract of your IAQ that you have this evening. We spoke about it at the last board meeting where I was afraid that we were giving open-ended contracts to individuals. I have an employee who wants to be a whistleblower who gave me information about the same vendor that during Irma, I have your sign-in logs from your school. This vendor was never there. And he has given me a statement stating that a bill for $129,500 never occurred. He also presented me another employee who verified his statement. These are the sign-in logs for the school for the entire month of December 2017. This is your visitor, and this is your county employees. There is no signature from anyone from that company or that company name. And this 23-year employee is willing to make a statement, but was afraid to come forward. And this is a vendor that you have on the list tonight that has been on the Florida auditor's list. So I'm making...
Thank you, Ms. Perez. Thank you. At this time, Madam Chair, we've had 13 speakers. There are no further speakers.
Thank you very much. Okay, first I'll respond to Melissa and Eddie from Cypress Lake High School. Okay, this matter is currently being investigated by the board internal auditor, and there is impending training to train booster clubs. The funds temporarily are being handled internally for now for the benefit of the athletes, and the fundraisers will continue. Okay. For the people who came to speak about the masks, our mask mandate is not a permanent mandate. Ms. Michael, thank you very much for your work also with the MOU, the Emergency COVID MOU, on behalf of SPALC, and your work with the district. Ms. Ware, is she here?
Yep, she's right.
Oh, I see her, okay. I believe that another board member will talk a little bit more about the Franklin Park situation during her comments. John, Blaine, Bethany, and Christy, thank you so much. It's not often that we hear comments which are so grateful, and we're happy that Ms. Buckley and her staff is doing such a great job and taking such great care of your kids. We certainly appreciate all of that. Okay. We do welcome and respect all opinions, and we thank you for coming to share them. That's all I can say about that, and God bless America. So thank you, all of you. Next is the approval of action items in the agenda under consent. The documentation for action items listed under consent is made available to board members 7 days prior to the board meeting. We are expected to review all the material, and we have an opportunity to speak with the superintendent with any questions we may have regarding the recommendations. Some of these items have also been briefed or workshopped with the board in advance of appearing on the action agenda. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under the unfinished business tabled items portion of the agenda? Ms. Giovanelli? I have none. Ms. Jordan?
I have none.
Ms. Gittens?
I have none.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, I would like to pull I-9 and I-10.
I-9 and I-10, thank you. And Mrs. Morgan?
I have none.
And I have none. Is there a motion? Yes.
I have none.
I'm sorry, Ms. Patrica. Thank you. At this time, is there a motion to approve the agenda's consent action items with the exception of the pulled items I-9 and I-10? Ms. Gittens?
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda items with the exception of the poll.
Thank you. And second? Sure. Ms. Giovanelli? Thank you. Please record your vote. Motion carries unanimously. We have two pulls to address, I-9 and I-10. Dr. Adkins, please read your recommendation for the pulled items.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first item is approval to increase the previously board-approved estimated expenditure of $2,800,000 by $1,300,000 for a total estimated annual expenditure of $4,100,000 with American Management Resources Corporation, Fresh Air Solutions of Southwest Florida, and Legal Enterprises. Captain Steamer, Carpet Cleaner, Captain's Complete Restoration, Repairs and Remodeling for the period of September 22nd through 2020 through February 25th, 2021, pursuant to the same terms and conditions as previously approved by the board. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute related documents.
Thank you. Board members, is there a motion to approve the recommendation for the pulled item? Ms. Morgan?
I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation to increase expenditures for ITN number N18733 4LN, indoor air quality, environmental consulting, asbestos, lead abatement, microbial remediation, remodeling, and painting.
Thank you, Mrs. Morgan. Is there a second, board members?
I'll second.
Mrs. Giovanelli, thank you. Okay, any discussion? Ms. Vaughn? Since I was the pull on this, I want to be very careful to give you my reasons for this that I really very carefully considered. I want to preface my remarks on why I pulled it with safety of our children is paramount. I in no way want to shortcut or do shortcuts or do anything that would imperil their lives or infection rates. The reason that I pulled this first item, I-9, is I felt that the amount that was asked for is too high. There are 3 areas that were detailed, and anticipated projects include but are not limited to. I think the first one is a good one, $800,000 toward unseen COVID-19 reactive mitigation. And this is different from what was proposed a couple weeks ago when this first came to the board, because only a couple weeks ago it was proposed that we do proactive cleaning and for a much higher price that we were to just fog all the schools every week. This instead is what I consider to be a much more reasonable effort, because it's positive response fogging model instead of just fogging everything. So that part of it I have no problem with. Now I might also I need to mention, if you read down in the proposal, this is a proposal for September 22nd, today's date, through February 25th rather, 5 months. So in other words, using this $800,000 figure, which is in addition to the normal contract that has already been approved by the board, is about $160,000 a month for this positive response fogging model that's specific to schools that have had outbreaks. The other thing that really bothered me about this and gave me pause was that we were given information twice, once at a board update and once yesterday in a board workshop. The team is working on a replacement model that will allow us to use trained staff instead of contracted vendors in a more cost-effective manner. And at this point, I'm talking about the other two, the coil cleaning services and maintenance day-to-day repair, which, let me remind you, are in addition to what already has been budgeted under this contract. At the workshop,
I heard when I asked about it. We are developing the process to train our own employees. And it was also stated at the workshop that this had been an ongoing discussion since April. And yet, the figures that are presented here have no real basis. They're just, to me, they're just numbers, and we haven't had any kind of cost analysis, at least it wasn't presented to the board. What would be the savings of training our own employees, admittedly, by district, high-level district staff? That would be more cost effective. So again, the reason that I've pulled this is I think it's a good thing to have the extra money, $160,000 a month for that 5-month period, for unforeseen COVID-19 reactive mitigation, and that's in addition to other work process in this contract. But the other two, I don't see it as cost effective, and I don't see it as something that we shouldn't have perhaps provided months ago. I think the plan is not fully developed, and that's why I pulled it.
Okay, any other discussion, board members? Ms. Giovanelli.
I'm also not going to be supporting this as well tonight because I feel like that we need to have a plan, a COVID cleaning plan, and I asked for that because I've spoken to other districts and they're doing it differently, and I think that this is something that should went out for specific bid. We've received numerous emails offering that service, and yet we're not seeking other estimates and bids to make sure that it is cost effective. I mean, it clearly, superintendent's own words said it wasn't cost effective, so I will not be supporting that tonight because I think we do need a plan, and when Broward is paying $28 an hour to clean their schools, I think that it's room by room. It's not a full school unless the whole school is going to be shut down. That's when you would be doing it at that kind of volume. So I think that I would like to see a plan in place, a COVID plan, cleaning plan in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Ms. Gittens.
Well, the one question I have is the time period. So it's not, and Superintendent, this is probably a question for you, from September to February of 2021, is that hard and fast? Can we, if there were changes in some way, or if we did train enough staff and we were able to handle it ourselves, can we get out of that?
That's one of the reasons why you have that particular time frame. You know, first of all, let me back up a second to address some of the concerns that have been raised. Understanding that under the current pandemic, you know, this was a situation where we felt we needed to act quickly, and we do have 2 procurement vehicles in place, and that allows us to do that, I think, in an appropriate manner, and that's why instead of taking 2 months to go out for an RFP, which is approximately what it would take, we're able to go out and get the services we need to be able to respond without having to go through that process. I do believe that we have moved in a good direction from moving. We started out, recall, with this positive response fogging procedure. That's how we started. And then as we approach the start of school, then we get into that preventative fogging that was more expensive. And since that time, we have pulled back to this positive response fogging and are looking for a more cost-effective way to do the preventative fogging. Now, because these 2 items, and I'll speak to I-9 first, this is an item that was first approved without looking at COVID in terms of a normal expense. So you're looking at, this is what the expenditure would be for a normal year. but then understanding that this was a good vehicle for us to be able to do the positive response fogging and the additional coil cleaning. This was we felt was the most responsive thing that the district could do. I do want to address the coil cleaning because I appreciate Ms. Vaughn acknowledging the positive response model in terms of the fogging, because I think this is something that is very good. We know the disinfectant that's used is something that is the active ingredient is thymol. It is something that has been shown to be effective at killing COVID-19 and many other pathogens for that matter. But in addition to that, we're layering in our normal routine in terms of deep cleaning, which also helps stop the spread of this virus. But additional things that we can do is we can make sure that our air supply that comes through these buildings, through our HVAC systems, is also clean. So we have moved from a biannual cleaning of the coils to a quarterly cleaning of the coils. So this, again, incurs additional cost. So for these reasons, these are expenditures that are over and above the original amount of this board agenda item, and we do not want to leave ourselves in a situation where we don't have the funds to do normal preventive maintenance and also the positive response funding. So I'm asking for your approval of this particular item for the increased expenditure.
Ms. Morgan.
So I'm going to support the superintendent's recommendation. I think trying to compare how we bid and acquire services with another school district that may use an entirely different process is really a specious argument. So I have every confidence that the staff is reacting as quickly as they can, as efficiently and effectively as they can, and they are keeping us appraised of the decisions, of the changes that they are making in response to the ongoing changes on the ground. And I see no reason to stop this particular request for an increase in expenditure. I think we need to give it to the staff. I have absolute confidence the money will be used in a way intended. And I think other than that, some of the questions that have been asked are nitpicking and not in our wheelhouse, whatever. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. Any other comments? Ms. Giovanelli?
So this is my concern. The RFP that we have in place, it's for COVID cleaning. That's the question. Is it, because I'm concerned that it's not in the scope of the contract. This is what happened to us 2 years ago, and we just had to pay, we had to move money from operations to capital because we used FEMA money for janitorial services that were not approved by the Florida auditor as well as DOE. So then we had to move $1.8 million. So
I think this is a little different than what you're talking about there. And I would say the majority of those expenditures DOE did support.
But not 1.8 million. So my concern is because it was because of the contract, the scope of the contract. And
that wasn't the scope of the contract. It simply has to do with what funds we're using to pay for it. That was the disagreement. It's not what the actual service was.
Well, I spoke to the Florida auditor, and he told me the scope of that they did not perform their scope of their contract. It was out of their contract. It was not.
That wasn't the audit finding.
So the thing is, my concern is COVID cleaning could not be in this contract because this contract goes way before COVID. So that is my concern. I don't want to get down the road and the Florida auditor say that we've used monies incorrectly again.
That's why we have our legal team review these contracts before approval. Because it wasn't a contract issue. Again, it was a funding issue. For the audit finding had to do with the funding issue, not with the scope of service. I don't know, what you were told, but I know what the audit finding is.
Well, that's what he told me. So I can only go by that. And the fact that we moved it, had to move monies I don't want to see that happen again. That's why I think that we're not being proactive, being reactive. We've had since March to determine how to clean a building effectively through COVID. So, and now we're going to spend more money that I don't think even, I mean, like you said, your own words said cost effective. That's my concern. And we have a very large budget this year that I'm concerned next year will not be large, and we were going to be in huge debt for cleaning. I mean, we were cleaning and fogging when we didn't need to be, and that's my concern. Where are we getting that? Where's the data and the information that we're doing this right? I think that we should have been briefed on something like that.
I think you were briefed, and we'll just have to agree to disagree.
Okay.
Thank you.
Call the question.
Ms. Vaughn.
If I may respond real quickly to what Ms. Morgan said. I believe she said something about that,
Madam Chair,
what we're saying.
Madam Chair, I think that the question was called.
Correct.
So
Okay.
So you need to address that.
Okay.
Was Ms.
So you'll
Morgan
need-
called upon before I was?
Yes.
I believe that Ms. Morgan called the question.
Yes.
But her hand was up.
Okay, then. All right. No further discussion.
Well, no, that it doesn't necessarily mean there's no further discussion. The board needs to vote on it.
Right.
Yes.
And if the board votes to basically call the question means we're ready to vote. So if the board votes to go ahead and vote, then you can, or the board can say, no, we want to continue with discussion.
Right. Okay. So.
Can I ask a question that's not discussion? Point of order question?
Ms. Bruno.
What I have on the table right now is a call to question. So we need to address that. And then if that fails, then the board can continue, and it will be Ms. Vaughn to move forward with her question.
Okay, then are we ready to vote?
I'm not ready. I'm still ready for, I want to give her permission
Right,
for
so-
discussion.
And I would too. I mean, do you have to take a vote on that?
We have to take a vote on calling the question. So, are you ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay.
It's 3 against.
Ms. Patrica?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm ready to vote.
You're ready to vote. Okay.
Able to vote on phone?
And then, so 3 people are not ready to vote. 4 people are, so we'll take the vote.
I wasn't asked, but that's okay.
So
And it'll be a voice vote because it's a pulled item.
let me just make sure we clarified. Did you vote on the call to question? All those who are in favor of calling the question, which means to vote.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, so that's 4 to vote and 3 not to. So then we take the vote. Okay. No more discussion. Now, all of those in favor?
So one more clarification. When you're calling the question, because of the fact that you are limiting the vote, it does require more than a majority. You have 7, you'll need 5. Is it 2/3?
All right, so we don't have that, so then we'll just continue discussion. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bruno.
Just so that the board knows, anytime that you are trying to limit the ability to have discussion, you will need 2/3.
Thank you.
Well, I wasn't asked, so.
Okay, then, Ms. Vaughn.
Okay, the comment that I was going to make was that I believe Ms. Morgan's words were some of these things were nitpicky, and I think she said not in our wheelhouse as school board members, and I beg to differ. When our own board updates say specifically about training staff instead of contracted vendors because it's more cost effective. I think that, and 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 I think that And we did have, we knew for a fair amount of time that we were going to have some extraordinary measures that we were going to have to do in our school. And I really do take exception that we are being presented an incomplete plan. And as I said, I am in favor of part of this, but not the whole thing. And I think Ms. Giovanelli made a very important point that we already spent, I don't remember the amount of money, but it was a good chunk of money just being proactive. I think we had 7 weeks worth of funding at that time that we could do mass fogging. So wanted to say that. And I did have a question. Okay, I know when it's among the 7 board members that we're not supposed to get into a debate and we're not supposed to interrupt each other to make a point. Is that also true between a board member and the superintendent?
I'm sorry, Ms. Vaughn. Are you? Were you?
I'm really asking Ms. Dupree-Bruno. In other words, we're, as board members.
Excuse me, but this discussion is regarding the recommendation.
It refers to the recommendation because it's what happened when we were discussing it.
Attorney Bruno?
Or I'll ask it later if it's ruled out of order.
I'm a little confused as to what the question is. I'm sorry.
Okay. May I ask it? Or I'll wait.
Please clarify for Attorney Bruno.
Okay. As board members, the 7 of us, when we are speaking, we are not supposed to be interrupting a speaker, and we're not supposed to be debating an issue. My question is, does that same rule hold true if a board member is speaking and if there's a debate between the board member and the superintendent because the superintendent interrupted some commentary?
So the rules apply to everyone who is in the discussion.
So would that not have been, as we were discussing, a point of order that Ms. Giovanelli should have finished her thoughts and then Dr. Atkins should have given his response?
So if they were in the middle of a discussion, yes. So I'm still not. Are you referring to Ms. Morgan's call of the question? No. So I'm still. So yes, if Ms. Giovanelli had questioned Dr. Atkins about something and he was responding to her and there was a discussion, yes, they should have finished their discussion.
There was interruption where she, it seemed to me, was cut off from finishing her thoughts. Maybe I misheard it.
Ms. Vaughn, if it will help you, I will make sure to do a better job of allowing Ms. Giovanelli to finish her comments.
Or all of us.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's all. I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay, I would like to say that I want to support this recommendation for a couple of reasons. We had already approved the contract, and we're asking for extra money as a response to a national pandemic situation. In addition, yesterday at the briefing, Dr. Savage really answered the questions and explained exactly why the plan is a work in progress, because almost everything we've been doing since this pandemic over the last several months is a work in progress. And we're responding to ever-changing needs, but our priority is to ensure safety for our students and staff in the buildings and make sure that they are adequately disinfected and that the air handlers are cleaned. So I plan to support this recommendation this evening. Ms. Gittens?
I have a question. If the superintendent said that, for example, the coil cleaning services is already in the contract, and that this $250,000 is an increase of that amount that's in the contract because of COVID, so that we will do it twice as much of the cleaning. Is that correct?
Yes,
What you're
so,
saying?
yes, we said it would happen twice annually. We're moving to every quarter, so that's doubling the amount.
Right, you said it was doubling the amount. So if in the other contract, there should be a $250,000 amount to pay for coil cleaning, correct?
I'm not following you.
In the original contract, if we're doubling this, then the first contract should have been $250,000, and we're just doubling it because of COVID.
I can't answer the question. It would depend. I mean, you know, so you may start with a base price and then in addition you add to. I don't know.
Okay. My question about the coil cleaning, just like we started out doing the cleaning once a week, and I mean, all the schools every week and all, and I just don't know if we're going to need to continue, or will we get down the road and stop doing the, you know, increase in coil cleaning because it's not necessary, and that's my question. We've already budgeted to have it done, and I don't know. Yeah, I just have a question about it.
So to answer your question, as is with any item such as this, we would continue to evaluate that item, and it doesn't mean necessarily that we would expend all dollars that are in this approved agenda. So we hope that we do not. But the reason I'm here tonight is because I'm very concerned that we will go through this budget before the end of the year, and I don't want to put the district in that situation. I will take the opportunity also to just directly respond to make sure that Mrs. Giovanelli and the rest of the board understands that fogging is a part of this, so I do believe it is certainly appropriate. We looked at that part of it very, very hard because in fact, myself, because I don't want to get into that situation where we're doing work under a contract that later gets questioned. So I myself questioned both these items, and it was properly vetted again through legal before we get here today. So anyway, fogging is a part of this, as is the coil cleaning, and the additional work that we're doing is what has caused us to come back and ask for an increase.
So may I finish my last question? So the three items that are listed here, under which area then is the fogging? And all of this is just the services for doing the coil cleaning and doing the fogging and the maintenance and all that, and we are providing the materials to do that.
We have already procured the agent that we're using to fog.
Right, okay. But I mean, which one of these items does the fogging go under, since it's not listed? That's what I'm asking.
I-9.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion? Ms. Jordan?
Thank you. I was actually going to say what Dr. Atkins said, that just because that money's there does not mean we spend it all.
Right.
When you do a budget, you do the budget in hopes that you're not really going to ever spend all that money, because it is a guesstimate. But you have to have the numbers down there to have some kind of actual outlook of where you're going to be at. And as far as, I mean, I know we've talked to extent as far as that we have the agent that's needed, they are providing the services, they're providing the machines. I mean, I know we have discussed that over and over again. And I just feel like we just keep going back around with this. And, I'm definitely going to support this because I definitely believe that we have to make sure that every child, teacher, whomever that's in that building is protected. So I will be in support of this in hopes that we don't spend it all.
Thank you. Mrs. Giovanelli?
I just have to say a couple things. You do realize that Lee Memorial does not fog. The hospitals are not being fogged for COVID when they have a sick patient. Y'all understand that, right? They're not fogging. So I think that's an important thing to realize, that Lee Memorial is not fogging these hospital rooms after having COVID patients. So I think that's important. Second of all, the finding from the Florida auditor was regarding consideration of qualifications of the service providers that respond to the request, considerations of anticipated benefits, related costs of the services, selection of the most qualified service provider. That's the things that the indoor air quality, we did not use, they did not do the scope of their contract. So they were not qualified. So that's how we had to pay $1.8 million back from one pot to another. That was not planned. So I think that's important to know. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Ms. Jordan?
Just one thing, only because Lee Memorial was brought up, just like hotels. If you stay in a hotel, they do not rent that hotel out for 3 days. We don't have that luxury, so we don't really know how. We have to make sure that we can turn that classroom back around and get our kids back in those classes. So if this is the way that we have to do that to make sure that everybody's safe, we really have to be thinking about that. We're not the same. We don't know if the hospital is not putting heads in beds or, turning those rooms over. We don't know how that works for them. But I know that we need to make sure that we can get in there, get the class ready to go, and get our kids back in there where they need to be.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind is understand that these buildings, they go in there and fog these buildings when people are not in there. Hospital's a little bit different. I mean, most hospitals, they're going to have people in the entire hospital the whole time. School building is empty after hours. And again, back to this, I don't want to keep batting it back like a tennis ball, but I think your interpretation and mine are a little bit different in terms of how we do scope of service. And again, the issue that ultimately the Department of Education landed on was just simply, this is the proper budget that you're supposed to pay for these services to come out of. This is the proper budget, not that what you did was inappropriate in any way, shape, or form. So that's what the audit finding was. And remember, again, the vast majority of that was found in our favor.
Yes, but it was still based on scope of work. I just would like to see the COVID cleaning, a plan and policy or whatever you want to do, and let's go out to bid for that. Because I think we're just missing the boat and just using status quo, and I won't be supporting that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Giovanelli. Any further discussion? Oh, seeing none, it'll be a voice vote. All in favor of supporting the superintendent's recommendation to increase the previous approved estimate of $22,800,000 by $1,300,000 for a total annual expenditure of $4,100,000 for the COVID mitigation, cleaning, coil cleaning, and maintenance day-to-day repairs. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I guess, no, I can't.
4, and then
Against.
Against.
Madam Chair,
4 to 3.
so this is not a consensus. We can't have thumb sideways. It's either going to be yay or nay.
I did down. I changed.
You did down, okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Down. Okay, then item I-10. Jenkins.
Madam Chair, what was the vote count?
4 to 3.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The approval to increase the previously board-approved estimated expenditure of $4 million by $1,300,000 for a total estimated annual expenditure of $5,300,000 with Country Cooling and Heating, Page Mechanical Group, United Mechanical, and Winco, Inc. for the period of September 22nd, 2020 through January 27th, 2021, pursuant to the same terms, conditions as previously approved by the board. Approve, authorize the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Thank you. Okay, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Again, is there a motion to approve this pulled item, I-10? Ms. Jordan?
I move to approve the superintendent's recommendation for the pulled item.
Okay, thank you. And a second, please? Okay, and a second by Mrs. Giovanelli. Any discussion? Ms. Jordan? I'm sorry, Ms. Vaughn. Thank you. Since I pulled this, some of what I'm going to say is very similar to what I said on the other item. I want to preface this with saying that just because we hear answers to questions at a workshop does not mean that we're automatically going to approve something. All that it means is all of us, including myself, had the opportunity to have questions answered. And as I said in my notification of the pull, I was not convinced that of the cost effectiveness. Now, again, in this one, the HVAC item, I have no problem with the money that is allotted for this 4-month period. Remember, we're talking 4 months here at $450,000 for unforeseen COVID-19 reactive mitigation, which is identical wording to what we had in the prior item, only this pertains to HVAC. So this means that we have allotted in our budget, and thank you for those of you who were trying to edify me on what a budget is, but I do know what a budget is. Thank you very much. That means $112,000 extra a month in the item that I said I think is a good one, the unforeseen COVID-19. Again, we have more maintenance services, day-to-day repairs. This is in addition to the existing contract that we have that provides for repairs. Now, since the other item passed, we're going to be cleaning those coils a lot, and we have a lot of extra money to devote here, so I'm not sure how many more day-to-day repairs we're going to have having to do with HVAC. The one that bothers me the most, though, is HVAC filter replacements. And the question that I asked, and this is the one that I have the most problem with, and it's $400,000 for 4 months, is when I asked about using school-based employees, using school-based maintenance or custodial staff to replace the filters. And this is why, in part, I have problems with this item, because the answer that I got to that is, well, we used to do that. But what turned out to happen was that people just weren't changing out the filters on a regular basis. And so we decided to take it out of the schools, remove it to the district in charge of doing this, which in itself isn't, to me, as efficient as having somebody school-based doing it. And this is how it's turned out. And what we have are, we're paying people to come in
from a company that specializes in HVAC to change filters? When I taught at Estero High School, I saw on a routine basis, our custodians get up on a ladder, they pull down something from the ceiling, take out the dirty filter, put in a new filter. Training of staff. Forgive my being a little flippant, but we're not training them to do brain surgery. How hard is it to do this? And the explanation that I got was unacceptable to me. The fact that people got lazy and didn't do it and it wasn't being recorded, and we don't want that to happen anymore, so we've contracted out at a higher cost. That's just not acceptable to me, and we've had plenty of time to get our act together with this. And again, it's not very hard to change a filter. And those are my reasons.
Thank you. Any further discussion, board members? Ms. Gittens?
Just a question, Superintendent, is that replacement of filters, is that similar to the coils that we're doing it twice as much because of COVID? I mean, are we stepping up and
Yes.
changing them more often?
Yes.
And wasn't there's, I vaguely remember something about the type of filters and changing the type of filters to ones that were better for COVID.
Upgrade of the filter, and in addition to that, it's moving to a more, to more filter changes from a quarterly basis to a monthly basis in terms of how often that you change the filters.
Okay, and the COVID type filters, I know I'm not saying it right, but would they not be more, I know, just like when we change our filters at our house, we can either pay $25 or $50 and get one that lasts us forever, or we can get, you know, the cheapo ones at Walmart and go back every week. So
Correct.
Going to the more expensive is what this is about, which would then mean we wouldn't do it as often as long as we're cleaning coils and we're fuming and doing all that as well.
I would say that we believe that in the environment that we're in right now, in the midst of a pandemic, that we believe that we need to continue, we need to go on a monthly basis with a higher grade of filter.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Giovanelli?
My concern is that this is just strictly labor. Is that correct? Like
No, I don't believe that's
the
correct.
$112.5 a month is including filters? We're paying for filters.
There's
but that's
more than
including-
labor in this, is my understanding.
I'm sorry?
My understanding, this is more than just labor.
Yeah. In the filter replacements, that was one that he said was.
Service and product.
Yeah, I mean, I had the question that was actually, that your question you responded said, no, this bid is not for labor only.
So my concern is what happens in the end of January when we have to extend this again at 1.3 million? And that is it going to be just 4 months? I mean, that's why I'm asking for the COVID cleaning policy or plan, something so we can see a schedule. I'm having a hard time with spending an additional 1.3 million that wasn't budgeted.
Well, Mrs. Giovanelli, I understand the concern. However, I mean, I think that you would agree that we have been extremely busy in the course of the summer getting ready for reopening of school. And is what we've heard right here. We learn more about the transmission of this virus, preventative measures and their effectiveness every single day. So I don't want to come to the board and ask for way more than we need. We are asking for what we believe we need to get us through this period of time while we continue to learn more about the transmission of this particular virus, the efficacy of the different protocols that we've put into place. So the reason why we have this length of time is for that reason. It gives us the opportunity to evaluate the work. The second thing, just to respond to a couple other things, Ms. Vaughn, I heard what you said. I don't think that's quite the way I characterized it, people being lazy. That wasn't at all it. I know you've had a lot of experience in education, so have I. I've been a building principal, and I've also worked in operations for 2 years, and I can tell you that as a building principal, I was not comfortable with, and it wasn't about being lazy. I'm talking about one of the hardest working individuals I've ever worked with. But the knowledge that he was needed wasn't just as simple as like at a home. Different systems are different. This man, if he could have done it, I would have supported him to the millionth degree. He couldn't. He really just couldn't. I didn't have the staff that was capable when I was a principal. Now coming down here, I'm looking now in operations of trying to protect millions of dollars worth of equipment, and also understanding that we continue to cut back some ways in school-based staff, so it's not about them not being able to, get to it. I think they've got a lot on their plates as well. This is a way that we can assure that this can be done consistently and protect a multi-million-dollar investment. That's why I'm making this recommendation. It is not because we're failing to hold people accountable. That's not it. I have personal experience here at dealing with this at a school level and also at an operations level. So please understand that's the reason I make this recommendation. We may not agree, but understand that's what's behind the recommendation I'm bringing forward to you today.
Okay. We'll take the vote then. All those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Gittens, okay, aye. And 5, and then those opposed? Okay, and 2 opposed.
Excuse me.
Okay, got it? Ms. Thomas? Yes, okay. Next on the agenda is attorney's recommendations.
Madam Chair? Yes. There was a gentleman I want to recognize as a part of the consent agenda, and I
Yes, Dr.
apologize. And so Jason Tomaszewski, he is from teacher on assignment to coordinator, fine arts and performing arts. Congratulations. I just want to recognize him.
Thank you, Jason, and congratulations.
You picked a good meeting.
He's out of here.
It's called baptism by fire.
Next on the agenda is attorney's recommendation, approval to increase expenditures for the letter of engagement with Weiss, Sirota, Helfman, Cole, and Bierman as school board attorney for the school board of Lee County, Florida. Okay. Attorney Bruno?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm asking for board approval for the increase from $225,000 to $148,813.78 for a total expenditure of $373,813.78. This covers the flat fee for March and April, as well as 3 cases that were outstanding that were not included in the flat fee.
Thank you. You've heard the attorney's recommendation that the board approve the increase to the previously approved estimated expenditure of $225 by $148,813.78 for a total estimated expenditure of $373,813.78 with the former attorney firm. Okay, the additional Funds will be provided through remaining funds in reserves. Is there a motion to approve the attorney's recommendation? Ms. Gittens?
I make a motion, we approve the increase of expenditures for the letter of engagement with Weiss, Schroeder, Hoffman, Colin, Bierman as school board attorney at the school board of Lee County, Florida.
Thank you. And a second? Ms. Jordan? Thank you. Any discussion? Ms. Giovanelli?
Real quick, I just want to thank Attorney Bruno that her dedication to working on this invoice, because she saved us a lot of money. So I just wanted to thank you for that, because I think it's important that that we really count all our pennies. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Giovanelli.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 No, we can, I'm sorry, please record your vote.
Yeah.
Oh. That was not a poll. And the attorney's motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we are down to other business. Board member comments. Mrs. Giovanelli.
Thank you. I just want to, say really quick that, I'm going to continue to be a watchdog for the public. So that's where I'm just going to continue to do that. And so I just wanted to thank everybody for even coming together, even though I don't win every fight. I'm just being honest with that. I just want to ask if there's a possibility, if this is something that we need to look into, is Booster Club compliance or oversight, or is there a policy? How can we safeguard the Booster Club funds and so that the principals aren't being held accountable for some things that are happening at booster clubs and so forth. And I know there's issues across the state, so maybe that's something we could have a conversation about. I don't understand how, if there's a policy, or if we could make a policy regarding oversight and compliance of that. So that's just something that which I wanted to bring up to the board. I just wanted to also say that we're going to definitely miss Dr. Santini, and I wish him a relaxing retirement, as well as I wanted to welcome Jason, and I'm not sure how to say his last name.
Tomaszewski.
Oh, I'll never get that one. So I just Ms. Fisher brought up earlier today, it's National Voters Registration Day, so it's really important that everyone votes and gets registered. I also had a question regarding those logs that Ms. Perez mentioned. Is there any way that we could get some of that information that she seems to have? Review logs. That would be really important. I'd like to see what she's talking about. And I also wanted to say something that the parents that came in here tonight regarding Tanglewood and Edison Park. My granddaughter started back in classroom last Monday, and she did it 2 weeks, Home Connect, and yes, it's a different child even. So I can understand and relate to what those parents were saying, and the schools are doing a great job. Home Connect as best as possible, and also face-to-face, so I think everyone is excited. My granddaughter was very excited to get back into class and be with her peers, and in fact, she is selling Krispy Kreme donuts. If anybody wants one, it's a BOGO card. They're only $20, and when you buy 1 dozen, you get a dozen. So it's a great deal. So that's a fundraiser. So I'm going to be having Krispy Kreme donuts. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Patrica?
Hi, yes, thank you.
I just wanted to comment on some of the discussion that was occurring surrounding pulled items. I think that the items that were brought forth by the superintendent reflect staff's ability to be agile during uncertain times. And I also think that looking at too closely the schedule for changing HVAC filters is beyond the scope of what we as board members would be doing. And the last thing I want to say is I was really heartened by the comments from the Tanglewood parents. But one of the sets of employees that I think was not acknowledged was our custodial staff. Our teachers and our administrators have been praised for the amazing work that they've done, but I think that our custodial staff often goes unnoticed. And I think I remember once at the table talking about Jimmy Thompson's contribution to a pandemic task force meeting and how he discussed HVAC and the changes he was going to make district-wide to our HVAC systems to keep our students more safe. And my first reaction to his presentation was, as a parent, how much safer I felt sending my own children to school. And then my second reaction was, as a board member, how incredibly grateful I was to have a man with that level of understanding of our HVAC systems working for us. And I am confident that HVAC recommendations specifically, he had something to do with those. And, I have a high degree of confidence in him and in our custodial staff. I don't ever think they're lazy. I think, as Dr. Atkins said, they're amongst the hardest working people in the district. They take incredible pride in their work. And I felt that they deserve some positive recognition this evening. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Patrica. Ms. Jordan.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ware has gone, but I'm still going to share some information. Regarding Franklin Park, the staff is really working extremely hard trying to get the custody report and make sure everything is to the DOE. Back in July 30th, we started reaching out to different community members, city leaders to try to get letters, cost analysis, everything pulled together. So by August 14th, they could actually submit that to the DOE. We did receive letters from our city council. Fort Myers City Council actually is putting together a resolution for Franklin Park to support the complete tear down of the school because I do think that that is an important part of the community. As far as the community not being engaged, we are, myself, the Community Partnership School, Franklin Park employees, everyone has been out there trying to talk to the community. They actually did a needs assessment back in June 2020 to see, it was a survey to see about what the staff needs, who participated in this, the family resource rooms, student support, and what they actually felt was the need of the community. No one's trying to get rid of the school. We're trying to make sure that the school is what the community does need. With the community partnership, that would have its own separate interests, and not only would it take care of the students at Franklin Park, but it will also take care of the staff at Franklin Park and the community in the area. So that is a really good thing to have. I mean, that's a true blessing to have that in the community because it is the first one in our district. And if I'm saying anything wrong, please jump in. But I mean, I have been definitely engaged with this, with Kathy Ebo and all of the staff. I mean, they're really working hard to make sure that we're doing everything possible to get that. And not only that, we are now working with the Choice neighborhood for Southward Village they're trying to get I believe it was a $30 million grant to redo that whole area, which of course, at the end of the day, it's going to build that community up more. And so with the partnerships with that, it's been, Franklin Park is a part of that. I'm a part of that. We have several different agencies that are a part of it. We go to Dunbar core community meetings to make sure what is going on in the community. So there's so many different community associations that I attend to make sure that we are doing the best that we can do for the community on this side of the river, if you will. But I do want to say that, you know, we're always welcome for anybody to share information. Michelle Freeman, the principal there, Joy Hunter, I mean, they are just, they're rock stars. They know everybody. We know about the kids. The testing just took place last week for the kids, so we'll know where that, what they could have possibly lost through the summer. But they're on top of that, so they are definitely watching what's going on with their children over there. And I can't remember how many kids I think there's 100 and some students back at the school there, and then we have the kids that are Home Connect, and I think there was one child that was homeschooled, if I remember correctly. But everybody is working really hard to make that come true. So I just wanted to share that with Ms. Ware, and I'm sorry that she wasn't here to hear that. And then also, there was one other thing. Oh, and I just wanted to thank our Burlington stores. They, it's the Burlington stores and Adopt a Classroom. They donated $5,000 to San Carlos Elementary for supplies. So that money will be divided amongst the teachers. It was for recognitions for the teachers' hard work. So it is really good for us to build, and we are building more community networking and partnerships, and I think that that's what we have to do, because we all are in this together. We all have to work together to make sure that the end result is making sure that the kids have what they need. And that is my comments.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gittens.
Yes, a couple of quick things. And Jason, I'm not ready for the videos, for the pictures yet. First of all, and great report, Ms. Jordan. The Eastleigh County Co-op is attempting as well to build community and involvement, and it's good to hear how your community is involved with what's happening with the district, and hopefully we will get to that point as well, as far as like with building and all. Everyone knows that we're having the tapping off ceremony tomorrow. And for those that may be watching, it is a ceremony. You can watch our earlier meeting, our briefing meeting that talks about the topping off for what's going to be the new Lehigh Acres Middle School. I wanted to give shout outs to Miss Lewis's class at the Paul Ernst Dunbar Middle School in Youth and Government, and I mentioned it in the meeting earlier today, but I wanted to give them all a shout out. And like I said, it is a challenge to be a teacher in a hybrid class, so hats off and kudos to all the teachers that are doing this double duty of doing the hybrid classes. And hopefully, God willing, it won't be too long that you have to do that. One of the things that I'm doing with the SAC committees and the SAC meetings in my district, and kind of challenge the rest of you possibly, is that I have asked to be invited to, or got the list of when the SAC meetings are at the different schools. And so a lot of them are still doing Zoom, which makes it a whole lot easier than to run all around the world. But that is a real good way. You know, we talk about board members being involved in the community. That's a good way to, we use it to kind of, boost the attendance. Not that we're so great, but to be able to say, come on and, meet your board member or something like that may encourage a few more people to show up. And we're always trying to do that as much as possible. The picture that you see, I think we have two. That is a Riverdale football. And
on the screen.
Oh, yeah, you can go ahead and put it up. It's on this one. Jason. There we go. This is a Riverdale football team, and they want to say thank you to First Services, the company that provided those 5-gallon buckets that they're sitting on. And it allows them social distancing. And also in the buckets is water, supplies, and different things that they need for the football game. So that's a really good thing from our community involvement. Thank you, First Services, for that. And thank you, Coach Delgado. Excuse me. You had the census one? Did you have the census video? I'm sorry, I have a sinus drainage. I do not have COVID. We have, I think it's 8-9 days left before the census is done. And our numbers are up. We're doing a good job, but I have some already. Thank you. Our numbers are up over 2010, but in my opinion, they're not up enough yet. So we still have a few days to work on that. I want to acknowledge Hispanic Heritage Month and all of our Hispanic students and families that are out there that are a viable part of our community. And I wanted to, we had a lengthy discussion about the courageous conversations this afternoon, but I wanted to just end off, one of the exercises we did yesterday was to ask each person why they wanted to attend Courageous Conversations book review and what they intend to get out of it. And I just wanted to share just a couple of their answers. One was to learn about perceptions of others and better serve students, learn how not to be a stereotypical teacher and educator. I love new ideas from multiple individuals, overcoming institutional racism and how to, never stop advocating for children. I want the opportunity to have conversations and to learn about ourselves. I want more information to grow, even if it's uncomfortable. I want to better relate to students, to each other, and to our community. Excuse me. I want to understand why some things are not okay and how to change them. I want to learn the ability to have tough conversations, because our job is to eliminate racism and eliminate the achievement gap. And finally, to understand and help all of our student demographic and educate others in our community. That's what the book review is about. I will, keep you all posted. And we are not taping it so that, although it's on Zoom, so that people can speak freely. And we did have a very free and open conversation at our first meeting yesterday. We have 8 sessions and we finish in December. And afterwards, the idea is that those people in this group can go out and do the same thing and have a book study in their own schools or in the community or whatever, and to spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. Ms. Vaughn.
Yes, I wanted to start out just by saying that all of us here are sitting here are mature, responsible adults. My philosophy is that the only way we can progress, not just as a school district, but as a community and as a nation, is we must continue to ask the tough questions. Without questioning, we will become a rubber stamp yes society. So, there are going to be disagreements, and some of them may even become somewhat heated. From my point of view, I have a broader view of what my responsibility is as a board member than a couple of my colleagues. I don't think bringing up items that I am knowledgeable about through asking questions is nitpicky or something beyond the scope of what I should be doing as a board member, but I see it as a way to hold people responsible, because again, once you start rubber stamping yes on everything, once you start not asking the tough questions, people will become complacent and we won't be doing our jobs as board members, which is in a large part toward the taxpayers and being financial watchdogs. Obviously, the overarching concern is the education and safety of our children. But anyway, I just wanted to say that because people disagree. And to me, that's the only way we can move forward. And heaven knows there's a lot of forward motion that needs to be done in this, in our communities, both local and national. All right, on a happier note, going back to the whole idea of community involvement, let's see, Jason, yeah, there you go. Thank you, Jason. We just finished a couple weeks ago a very, very successful drive for masks for our children, cloth reusable masks. Ding. We actually collected over 40,000 masks, and you can see some pictures there of some of the masks. And I just have so much admiration for these. And I say ladies, but I don't know if there were some gentlemen also who were sewing masks for us. But I, one afternoon, spent a couple hours sorting, and I was picking these up and looking at the stitching and the beautiful fabric, and I just thought, wow, these are just wonderful. Ding. So we want to recognize and say thanks a million to all our wonderful community supporters. So here you have on this slide, you have some of our platinum donors, and on this slide, the rest of the platinum donors that gave at least 300, I mean, we had donations in the thousands. Yeah, we also had community donors, and you have a mix here of 200 or more, the gold level. Then, whoops, hang on, Jason, so everybody can see silver level and bronze level. And what you're going to see is a mix here. You'll see businesses. You'll see, actually, on a prior slide, one of our huge donations came from the fraternities and sororities, the Divine Nine group that really got into donations. So we had civic organizations, we had businesses, and we had individuals. Okay. Ding. Also, we had lots of drop-off sites, and so I wanted to give recognition to these. If you'll keep that up there for a moment, Jason, so everybody can take a look at these wonderful drop-off sites, some of which did a combination of collections from individuals that came by, and also some that had their own donations as well. And of course, we also had a donation box in our lobby. The Foundation for Lee County Public Schools was open for online monetary donations. And I'm going to talk right at the end about what you could still do on this. And finally, just a general, huge thank you to the community that came together so well. Thank you for your generous participation in School Heroes Wear Masks, from our awesome Lee County civic organizations and our businesses, to each and not yet, to each and every individual who either purchased masks, as I do because I cannot sew, or who lovingly stitched the masks. I also want to say, although this was something that was, I guess you could say, kind of my brainchild, but most of the real work on this was done by two individuals from staff. Adam Malloy, who's doing a great job with making connections in the communities, and Kaylee Rodden, who is just a rock star in touching base with so many of our supporters and partners out there that donate. Now, before I move, or actually before the chair moves on to the next person, I just want to say that we're going to have a phase 2, but it's not going to be this kind of an organization. I have some ideas of things I would like to do with the community in general. So I'm going to be putting together some things, and I'll get some, I'm going to ask once I start putting those things together for input from the board, if they have any input in their local communities. And also, we're going to continue our partnership, of course, the ongoing partnership with the Foundation for Lee County Public Schools, who will continue to have the donation link available for anybody who would rather make a monetary donation. And I've also asked if we can continue to have the bins ready. We're going to need to switch out the decoration on the on the bins. They were beautiful. And again, I credit, I think it was Adam that designed those. If it had been me, I probably would have gotten some striped birthday paper and wrapped a box or something, kind of like the old Valentine boxes that some of us might remember. But they're beautiful boxes, and so I think this is very important. We've already done, I hadn't gotten the report yet. I hadn't asked for the report yet from Adam, but we've already done our first distribution to the schools, and we decided to go first with the Title I schools. And the whole idea behind this with the masks is that although this district, the school district, with our requirement to wear masks, will provide disposable masks to the kids who come to school without, I thought it would be nice for every child to have at least one nice cloth reusable mask, even if he or she doesn't wear it to school. It's something they can wear on the weekend when they go out to a restaurant or shopping with their parents. It's just something nice to do, and 40,000 sounds like a big number. It's not nearly enough because, you know, the kiddos are going to lose them or they're going to wear out. And so I will be putting forth additional information in the next week or two. So that's all I needed to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Morgan.
So I will say kudos to you. Thank you for that initiative. It's been an awesome effort on your part, and thanks to Mr. Malloy and Haley Rodden. I mean, you guys have done a great job, and it takes something that's sort of negative and turns it into a really positive community opportunity. So
thank you, Ms. Morgan. I appreciate that.
I want to compliment Talc and Spalk and our negotiating staff. I know it was a long process, a tough process, but I will say what I said once before, because we have had a long-term relationship based on interest-based bargaining. It was a difficult process and a long process. I think we got through it, and based on the vote, I would say that people generally are very satisfied with the outcome. So thanks to everybody who participated. I think for the parents who were thanking the teachers tonight, if Jason can put together a little piece with the parents who spoke tonight and put it out there for the teachers and staff. I am sorry, Ms. Patrica mentioned that, you know, some of the custodians and other people weren't mentioned. They just talked about staff. But I just think it's nice for them to hear from parents, you know, how they feel about some of the choices they've made and the outcomes. So I thought that was terrific. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I just want to say thanks to each and every employee who makes an important contribution to our work every day. Ms. Bruno?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually have two things. With regard to the Booster Club, there is a board policy 4.32 that addresses booster clubs. It has not been updated since 2010, so I will add that to my list. In addition, there are two manuals. There's a Booster Club manual as well as a cooperative organization manual that addresses these types of issues. Academic Services and Legal Services did have a meeting, and one of the things that was brought up was the need to do some training with the Booster Club, so we'll be working on that as well. So I just wanted the board to know that we are working on the Booster Club issue. And the other thing is, I wanted to have attorney workshops on a regular basis. I have not had an opportunity with how busy we were over the summer to have one since I think May or June, I think was the last time. So I do want the board to know that I am working on an attorney workshop to address roles and responsibilities from a statutory standpoint, governance and governance team from a legal perspective, the elephant in the room from a legal perspective, and some other different topics from what board members have been providing me in terms of things that they would like to discuss and vet a little bit, including how do we handle hearings, how do we get information, and various things like that. So that's probably going to come towards the end of the year, if not early next year. It will be very comprehensive and a refresher on the governing laws for the school board, and I think that will be important for the board.
Thank you very much, Attorney Bruno. Dr. Atkins.
Don't have a lot this evening to add to what we've already had discussion on. I do appreciate the discussion, however, and please understand, I understand a board member's role as watchdog, as I think Mrs. Giovanelli pointed out. I will say, just as a compliment to this board, you know, worked with a number of them, and this is not to demean any other board. This one does ask tough questions. Every single member of this board does. Some out here in this open forum, some at briefing, workshops, emails, all kinds of different ways. So it does keep us busy. It makes us, I think, better staff. I am confident in the recommendations, though, because we also have these vigorous discussions with staff. So that's what makes this job real fun, is you go argue over here and then debate over there. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, you get a really good product and the transparency that we're looking for. So having said that, I do want to say again, I said this earlier, but hats off to our members of the bargaining teams of both district and Talc and Spout. They all did a phenomenal job. My team is, I believe, an incredible group of individuals. They work extremely hard, and then you layer in all the things that are going on. Then you layer in negotiations, and I just I'm just very, very appreciative. I've been through a number of different difficult situations and emergencies and, you know, hurricanes and all kinds of things like this, but there's not a better team that I would want to go through this type of a pandemic with than this one. And so I just want to appreciate their efforts. We are in the fourth week. I can't believe it, but we are in the fourth week of school. We are seeing, I just want to report to you, as you've noticed with your alerts that you get from Ms. Stillwell that, I think Labor Day did have an impact. So we did see a little bit of rise in terms of the positive responses. Overall, we've been pretty low, and I've been extremely happy with the responsiveness. We did have, as I mentioned earlier, the Executive Board of the Foundation was met today, and of course Lee Health is in the room, and they also, and then as was President Martin. And I think that's one of the things that President Martin of FGCU acknowledged, is he's also seen a very similar type of response as a result of the Labor Day. It's not huge, but it is an increase. We've certainly seen it here. Hopefully that'll start to come back down. So all in all, though, I think we're off to a really good start, and I appreciate everybody's support. So thank you.
Thank you very much. On Monday, October 5th, there'll be a board workshop at 9 a.m. and also at 1 p.m. On Tuesday, October 6th, there'll be a briefing meeting at 1 p.m. and an action meeting at 6 p.m. At this point, having no other business to come before this body and seeing no objections, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you and home safe.